Hello and welcome to Mysti-Fi, your go-to destination for mystery and sci-fi movie recaps. Today, we're diving into a movie called Devil's Island. Before we begin, I want to remind you that this video may contain spoilers. Without further ado, let's head straight to the story. Sheriff Thompson drives a boat to a house on an island. He gets inside the house and looks around. He opens a door and he sees something horrifying, so he runs out of the house. 3 years later, Samantha arrives at a dock and sees a woman staring at her. He meets Michael. Michael says he was sent to come get her. She gets on a boat with him. They arrive at the house she inherited from her grandparents. Her grandparents were murdered inside the house. They get inside and Michael lets Samantha know that power is good, as well as the water. He then teaches Samantha how to drive a boat. It starts raining, and Samantha unpacks her stuff. She sees photos inside a drawer, and she places a few of them on the refrigerator. She looks around and tries to entertain herself. The rain stops. She gets out to find a cell network. She eventually finds a signal and calls her dad, but it goes to voicemail. She tells him she wishes he would come. She drives the boat and goes to a store. She goes back to the boat and sees a man. He asks if she's the girl on Elm Tree Island. She says yes and he introduces himself. His name is Mort and he does boat repairs. He gives her his business card. As she leaves, he tells her she should be careful out there. Samantha prepares food and eats outside. A man drives by the house. She waves at him but he ignores her. Samantha is sleeping when she hears banging sounds. She gets a knife, goes outside and finds out that it's just a door banging caused by the wind. A shadow is seen walking inside the house. Samantha notices something from a distance. She sees a person on a boat watching her. She goes back to the house anxious. The next day, she sees a wolf necklace and hangs it. Sheriff Thompson goes to the house. They talk about her grandparents and she tells him about what happened last night. He tells her it was probably just a night fisher. Michael checks on Samantha. She asks what's the best way to get a hold of him when she needs something. Michael just eerily says she'll see her and he'll be around. She goes to the spot where she found a signal to call her dad. She suddenly receives a message saying they're watching her. Later, she sees a person on a boat again, watching her. She tries talking to them but they just leave. She sees a person walking inside the house. She arms herself with a boat paddle and goes inside. She looks around and suddenly hears a boat leave. The next day, she notices Michael's boat outside but he's not on it. She gets on the boat and gets his gun. She sees a box. She opens it and it contains worms, as well as one of the photos she placed on the refrigerator. She starts to panic. She gets the gun and calls 911. The sheriff arrives but the box is already gone. He doesn't seem to believe her. She also tells him he saw a shadow inside the house. But since nothing has been stolen, he thinks it was just kids playing a prank. He tells her people around there don't like change and she might have rubbed someone the wrong way. He added that it might take some time for her to fit in, so he suggests avoiding upsetting the locals. After buying some stuff, she sees another local staring at her. She goes back to the house, but the boat runs out of gas, so she uses the paddle. She stops at the nearest island. She sees a strange woman and asks for help, but she walks away. She sees her again, but continues to walk away. As she looks for her, Mort sees her. Samantha tells him he's looking for the woman, and he tells her the woman's name is Mrs. Hunter and that she's a mute. Samantha asks how Mort knew she was there. He answers that he saw her walking in the woods. She tells him she ran out of gas, so Mort helps her. She tells Mort, someone might have siphoned it while she was getting food. Mort says she should be going because meat doesn't last long in the sun. Samantha says she's vegetarian and he makes fun of it by saying it's like a rabbit. The next day, She threw away the necklace she found in the house. She sees another box and sees a dead rabbit inside of it. She calls the sheriff and gives him the box. She asks about Michael and he reveals he was never missing and he didn't even know his boat drifted away from his dock. She calls Mort to fix her boat, but she actually just wants to talk to him about the dead rabbit. She thinks Mort has something to do with it because he thinks she eats like a rabbit for being a vegetarian. He tells her he was just making a conversation and he doesn't care what she eats. She asks what the wolf is all about. Mort tells her he can't talk about it out in the open, so he tells her to meet him somewhere tomorrow. She receives a message again, telling her to leave. That night, someone comes to the island. It's Mrs. Hunter. She brings her a cake. She writes Samantha is in danger, and warns the wolves will come. She added that the wolves are dangerous people. Mrs. Hunter writes leave, and she seems really worried about her. As Samantha prepares tea, Mrs. Hunter quickly leaves. Mort goes to Mrs. Hunter's to talk to her. In the woods, Mort sees people wearing capes and wolf masks. One of them bites him. Next day, Samantha looks for something. She notices something hidden in the cake. It's a photo of the people Mrs. Hunter mentioned last night and it's on that island. She goes to talk to Mrs. Hunter, but she sees wolf artifacts outside her house. She sees another box, but this time she doesn't open it. She goes out to buy lights, and prepares a homemade warning system. A man holding a hammer gets on the island. He steps on the wire, so the bell rings. He gets in the house, but Samantha is ready and armed with a gun. It's Michael. She asks him to put the hammer down, and slide it to her. She also asks him to lay down on his stomach, and put his hand on his head. She asks him why he wants to hurt her. Michael pulls the carpet as Samantha steps on it. They struggle, but Samantha is able to hit his knee with the hammer. Michael runs out of the house and falls to the water. Samantha looks for Michael. She speaks to him and asks him why he's doing it. He tries to attack her, but Samantha shoots him. The sheriff goes to see Samantha. He tells her they found a shrine in Michael's attic. They also found dozens of photos of her, and pieces of her clothes. He asks her if she's heading back to Vegas after what happened. She answers that she likes it there, and the sheriff seems to be disappointed. 1 month later, the bells ring again at night, and she's preparing to shoot. Next morning, she's outside with blood on her body. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit the subscribe button, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new release. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.